Hello.
Hey, Cliff.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Excellent. We just had a great talk with Amy Robbins.
Yeah,
Folks, I'd like to introduce Emily Valentine of Tactical. And let's start off with why don't you tell us who you are and what your company is, and we'll go from there.
sure, of course. Well, first, thank you. Thank you so much for hosting this and having me. I appreciate the opportunity, and everyone's going to get to hear from so many great women. So it's going to be pretty exciting lineup. So my name's Emily. I started my blog, Style Me Tactical, about 5 years ago. And really how it started and came about was my husband came home one day, wanted to get a gun for home defense. I didn't have any issue, no problem with that. Guns weren't really something that we talked about. We weren't anti-gun, we weren't pro-gun. It just wasn't something that was ever discussed until he came home and was like, you know what? I think I want to get a gun for home defense. And I was like, okay. So if we're gonna have this gun in the house, I probably should figure out how to use it to defend our home, myself, whatever, so forth. So we went to the range and shot a gun for the first time, and I did not like it. It was an extremely bad experience for me. Just the recoil being in an indoor range, like just everything just wasn't good. I mean, I thought I was going to walk into that range, shoot this gun, and I was going to be badass and it was going to be awesome, but it was the exact opposite. And for whatever reason, coming home, that like feeling of just kind of defeat just
Mhm.
stuck with me for days. It kept coming back and popping into my mind, and I was just like, God, why did this just have? Why was this such a bad experience for me? Why don't I like it? What is that? And it just, I decided, instead of ignoring it and be like, whatever, this isn't for me. I decided to like lean into that and start trying to figure out how I could get over that fear. And so I started looking online, trying to find like some resources, and there's tons and tons of information out there for gun owners. And most of it I found to be like super technical and just a little too, just like, I don't know, like it was too much for me to handle. And I was like, there's got to be like something out there, like where are all like the girls who carry guns or the girls who are into personal safety? And I was like, okay, so there isn't anything out there. So I decided, okay, well, what's really my next step? After the stuff that I had read online, I was like, well, let me see, let me go find an instructor, or let me start like the baby steps way. And as I realized some of those steps, I was like, you know what? I'm going to start, I think I'm going to start a blog and I'm just going to start documenting sort of my journey. It's going to be a way to hold me accountable to make
Mhm.
sure that I'm actually following through on meeting with an instructor, going to the range, doing all the things that, you need to do to kind of learn something new. And I was
Right.
like, and hopefully, I don't know who's out there. Maybe someone will read it. Maybe someone will find what I have to say helpful. And really, maybe someone out there will be able to guide me and help me. So that's really sort of how I started. Style Me Tactical was a way to document my own journey and decide, well, is a gun going to be for me? Am I going to finally purchase my own gun? And once I had made that decision and gone through the training, got over that initial fear, I was like, yes, I do want to have a gun for home defense. I want to be 100% confident in using it. And so, sort of as that mindset kept kind of playing in my head about, using a gun for home defense and having it, I started thinking, well, what I was reading was also people were carrying their guns on their person. I was like, okay, so I need to start thinking about concealed carry and how I can fit that into my lifestyle. And then again, I went out there to the internet and was looking, and again, it was just, it was very male dominated, and all the advice I was seeing was very from a male perspective. And I'm like, well, I don't want to wear that. I don't live my lifestyle is very different. I
Mhm.
go to work, I live in a city, I like to work out, all these things. I'm like, there's got to be a way that I can fit, you know, my need for personal defense and just my love of style and just my lifestyle like together somehow. So that's when I was like, okay, that's going to be the next phase of what I'm going to start sharing on Style Me Tactical. So that's what I did. I started sharing my own concealed carry journey. And the real focus was that, I wasn't going to give up my skinny jeans just in order to carry a self-defense tool. Like I was going to find a way to make that work together through trial and error, whatever I had to do. And was able to make that work with a lot of patience and practice. And I wanted to continue to share that. And help women and tell them that you can do this. Just, there are some things that you need to do. It's not a one size fits all lifestyle. Everyone has a different journey. Everyone has a different story and why they want to carry and what their lifestyle brings them. And so I really just wanted to start sharing that more and more. And really, like, I had always had growing up like a mindset for personal safety.
Mhm.
Not as much as I do today, but there was always like little things. My mom would tell me about going out by herself and things like that. And so it's always been something that's been in my head. And
Mhm.
so once I sort of stepped into, concealed carry and owning a gun and thinking more about personal safety, I really just wanted to dive more into that and really wanted to share with women just more about personal safety and how, it's so important for you to start thinking about your own personal safety, because really in the end, we are our first line of defense. We are the ones that have to
Right.
defend ourselves, take care of our family, our children. And, you know, in reality, there are evil people in the world. There's nothing we can do about that. We can't stop it. We can't predict it. So let's put ourselves in the best possible position so that we can defend ourselves. And that's really sort of that evolution of Stami Tactical and where it started and where it is now. And I'm just so happy and passionate that I just want women to really start thinking about personal safety. It's not about owning a gun. It's just about getting into the mindset and saying,
Right.
are you even thinking about
Right.
what you would do in certain situations, and just getting your mind ready for that? Because once you start accepting and acknowledging like the reality of the world, you'll start taking baby steps and incorporate personal safety into your life that fits your lifestyle. And then to me, like, if you're doing that, I feel like I'm like the message and I'm helping in some way.
So just in building your company, so basically, did you just start doing the blogging and getting the information out first, and then you kind of integrated bringing the products and style into it? Was that kind of
Yeah.
the growth
I
of
mean,
that?
yeah, that's really how it started. I just was just, kind of using it as an online diary, just kind of speaking, real open about how I felt, what I was experiencing, and what I was learning. And then it just sort of evolved from there. And I started incorporating a lot of the style aspect into it. And then
Mhm.
eventually, I was like, you know what, I want to kind of sell some little like fun, just kind of accessories and products, just as I think it would be fun to see. There's some things that I wanted, like little like mugs, like my Gunstop mug that I love so much, that I was like, this would be cute. I'd like to sell this. One, it would help me continue to create. I create a ton of content that's free for everyone. So it just kind of help, support the mission, and then also help me, kind of build like that community that we all can kind of share into the same thing.
Yeah. So when you were doing all your research, because it sounds like you dove into it with passion almost right away, because you came up with a challenge, you didn't enjoy shooting the first time, and obviously you go,
Yeah.
well, now I've got a challenge. So that's an excellent mindset, by the way. I love it. um, how was it when you started doing all your research, dealing with it essentially being a male dominated world of firearms and stuff? Because there's been a huge transition in the last 10 years or so, and I'd
Mhm.
like to know what your experience was in dealing with that as a passionate woman going after that information, and what challenges you had.
Sure, of course. I mean, like I had said, like everything out there, I mean, things have changed so much just even since I started in the last, 5 years. We have so many more women, wanting to own a gun for self-defense, but even that, just so many more women who are now open to talk and share about their personal safety and even owning a gun. Whereas 5 years ago, a lot of that stuff was nobody really talked about it. And social
Mhm.
media has really kind of helped to bring that community together. And when I was doing a lot of my research, like I said, like a lot of the articles, great articles, lots of information out there, but it was all written by men about how a woman should carry or how a woman needs to do this, and this is the best type of gun for a woman. And it's just like, well, how do you know? Like, you don't know my lifestyle, you don't know, you know, what I wear, you don't know how the size of my hands, you don't know like what other, issues that I might physical limitations that I might have that could, change like some of those things that you're recommending. So it was kind of frustrating. And I was just like, there's got to be more out there. And there are definitely, women, um, shooting chapters and other women sites out there. But a lot of it was still what I felt was just really like gun focused and, um, so heavy on that I was really just kind of looking for something that was a little bit more relatable and had a little bit more of that like lifestyle aspect. Because when I went into this, I looked at it as like, well, this is a huge commitment. It's a huge lifestyle change, just like with working out or deciding to eat healthy. Like that's an entire lifestyle shift that you have to be ready to go all in with. It's
Right.
training, it's costly, it's commitment. So that's where I was coming from. And I was like, that's what I was looking for, is like, where's kind of like that well-rounded, like this is everything you have to do, but you can still live your lifestyle and incorporate these things. So I really just wanted to come at it from like that lifestyle, like kind of world, and put it all together. And so I think like looking at it that way and being able to see more and more women open to talk about it, especially like I said, with social media. Like
Right.
when I first started, there was very few women on social media sharing concealed carry. And now we have so many women, which I think is amazing, because like it's all about building community. And that's what I
Right.
want, because the more women that they see that are open to talk about it, like more women are going to then decide to share their own journey. Because again, everyone decides to take personal safety and how they incorporate it into their life differently.
Right.
Everyone's story is different. And so while I made a personal choice that I was going to dive in, some people sadly have, decided to start carrying a gun because of something that has happened to them. But we all can find, community, and can find, um, friendship through that, because
Right.
we can talk to each other through social media, through DMs. I mean, there's so many awesome people that I've met through social media that we are now friends. I mean, Amy, you had before, like we met 5 years ago on social media, and now we're, best friends. So like those are the types of things that can happen through sharing your passion and sharing, our love for personal safety, because you can connect with those type of people
Totally.
on social media that you can't, and sadly, like today, there's especially guns is such a, hot topic, that there's a lot of a lot of people don't want to have those conversations with their coworkers or with their friends. So then you find them within the community, and you can talk about all the stuff that you want
Right.
to talk about.
So, and you've been at, how long ago did you start this journey? About 5 years ago, you said, or a
Yeah,
little?
about 5
Okay.
years ago.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years with the journey?
Uh, well, personally, like hardcore commitment to training. Like it's been hard. Everyone's had an issue in the past like year and a half with everything going on, being able to train and get out there.
Right.
But personally, like I had that drive always. But last year, I had made a commitment that I had signed up for a bunch of training classes that I wanted to take, but unfortunately, they had all been canceled and so forth. So once things actually get back to open, I really want to get back into that. But with SMT, I have big plans for, and an aggressive plan for the next year or two, about really growing it in terms of being a real resource for women that they can go to for all aspects of their lifestyle, and get everything they need to know, whether it's personal safety in terms of, less lethal self-defense tools, specifically with concealed carry, things like more technical stuff when it comes to guns. So I really just want to continue to build upon that, so women have that one-stop shop that they can go to get the information that they need.
Wow, this is great. And I'm curious, what are some? I bet you get a lot of feedback from customers, or friends with, or, people that you're communicating with. What are some amazing stories you're getting about um, the effect of what you've provided people, and then they've taken it to heart, and maybe they had an incident and they came back out of it like confident, whole, and unharmed because of it? Do you have anything like that?
Oh my gosh, I have lots. And that's like I think one of the true just blessings and humbling things that have really come from starting this, is that I never expected, and it was never something that I thought would happen when I started sharing my own journey, and all these safety tips and how you could incorporate this into your lifestyle. That women would be emailing me and DMing me about sharing just what kind of inspiration I've given them, just how I've changed their mindset and thought about personal safety. Like I remember some of those first few emails were just like, I was like, what? I can't believe this. This is amazing. This is exactly what I was hoping would happen. I just didn't expect it to happen.
Mhm.
Because when you first start kind of like blogging about your own journey, like who was reading it? I don't know. My husband, a couple friends. You just don't know. So since then, the responses continues to grow, and I'm extremely thankful. for everyone's support. And when they take the time to tell me about that, I've had a few women who have messaged me just saying, one of my posts just talking about situational awareness or thinking about like a different personal safety tool has changed their mindset altogether, because now my favorite one actually is like someone had reached out and was just talking about how they were out with their son the other day, and they were, so let me backtrack. So I had done a webinar that talked about situational awareness extensively, and one of the things that I mentioned was how I typically, because I live in the city, always making sure you're aware of your surroundings. But one of the tips that I had suggested is there's a lot of windows that I pass by in the city. And one of the things you can do is you can utilize those windows to kind of see the reflection of who's behind you, things like
Right.
that. And so I had shared that little tidbit. And then like a couple weeks later, a woman had emailed me and said she was out with her child, and she had utilized that tip because she had seen like a couple of people that were just giving her like that feeling, and she was listening to her gut, which is awesome. And so she used that tip to kind of see where they are going, so then she could kind of redirect her position as well. And like, it's just little things like that. And when I had shared that, it wasn't this is what you should do. It was just, this is kind of what I do. So if it works, great, it works for me. And so to hear that somebody actually utilized that, that's that really makes me feel good. And then there's always I always get a lot about people like, luckily no one has ever told me that they've ever had to use their firearm in a self-defense situation, which I'm glad, because we never want to have to come to that. But like, a lot of women are just talking about like how it's really changed their mindset and overall view on their own personal safety, which I think is extremely important.
Yeah. I mean, this actually goes to a big deal. So you have situational awareness, but what does that do? Does that create an intent with people? Like, I don't intend to be attacked.
Yeah,
So do
I
you think
think
that's an effective, do you think that's effective? And do you think that that's the core of what you're talking about?
that absolutely, it's the foundation. I think before you even start thinking about self-defense tools, that's the first thing that you need to do, is like your mindset needs to be ready. And situational awareness, like what I love about it is that it's free.
Mhm.
Everyone can do it, and you can apply it all the time, and it sets you up for success, because without situational awareness you have no way to know what is about to happen, what type of threat could be coming at you. I mean, and it's just simple things as, even just walking across the street, like put down your phone, things like that. People, I mean, I literally have seen people walk into a pole because their head was in their phone. I mean, it's just that simple. It's not even so much of a threat, but it's just like, are you even aware what's happening around you? Because, we talk about, part of this is like living a vibrant, healthy lifestyle. And when
Right.
you are actually situationally aware, what that actually means is that you are present. You're present in the moment. You're present about what's happening around you. So when you're present, then you're able to engage with other people. You're able to, talk to them and have the conversations in more meaningful ways. So it's just like, not only does situational awareness help you in terms of personal safety, it just helps you in connecting and being more able to connect with someone on just a level that we have lost, right? We have lost lately, or even
Right.
just as technology continues to become such a huge thing in our lives. Like, we are so dependent now on our phones that it's just like everywhere you go, everyone's head is buried in their phone. And like, no one wants to pick up the phone and make a phone call anymore. They just want to text, it's like things like that. And it's like we're losing that connection with people. And I just think it's sad that, and we need to start bringing that back. And of course, with everything that's been going on,
Right.
this past year, it's kind of made things, a little bit, that disconnection even farther. But I think, the simplest thing with situational awareness is just putting down your phone, lifting your head up, and just acknowledging what's happening around you.
Yeah. Being present for what's going on right at the moment.
Hmm.
I've got an interesting question. Was there an ever, I mean, you said you grew up being safety minded and whatnot. Was there ever in a time that you felt um, um, uneasy about things, and then you had kind of a shift in your mentality and generally getting into your power as a woman and being more situational aware? Did you ever have that kind of moment?
Not really growing up. I guess I'm somewhat thankful for that didn't happen. I mean, I was always just taught when I was younger. My mom always, told me, little things like don't walk alone, don't like, she's like, this, she was preparing me for when I was becoming an adult, even when I was younger. She's like, and if you're out, don't ever leave your drink unattended, just like all those like little like mom things that I think is so great. But all of that really stuck with me and just kind of was always in the back of my head as I kind of grew up. But I did have a situation, I want like 2 years ago, that this never happened. Like, I Uber everywhere, and
Hmm.
I was coming home from the airport. It's like a midnight flight coming home. I was by myself, and I'm always very careful, making sure I'm getting into the right Uber, things like that. But the Uber driver had taken a normal way that I would normally go from the airport, but we were going under this underpass, and there was, I guess, like the potholes in the road, something like that. But he had slowed down so much as we are approaching the underpass, almost to a complete stop, that within that second, this is the only time I've ever had this feeling that like my like stomach just fell, and I was just like, what is happening? And I thought he was going to stop. And like the only thing, like I had just come from a place where I didn't have my firearm. The only thing I had was my flashlight and my personal defense key that sits on my keychain. And like I already had my keys. I always have that in my hand when I'm in the Uber anyway. And so I had that in my hand, and I was just like, there was like that moment of just like, holy, like what's
Wow.
about to happen? And luckily he just kept going. But like it was right after that I realized it was because there was a huge pothole that he was slowing down to go around. But like from that last, like it was only another 2 minutes to my house from there. But like I got home and I told my husband, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never felt that. That is the worst feeling. I need to start like getting my training up. I need to start just like having a better plan for like when I'm in strangers' vehicles, and like what's my plan of action immediately, like what do I have in my hand, what do I have with me, like that is just kind of like what spurred that, because we can easily get complacent in our daily lives and routines. I take
Yeah.
Ubers all the time, and while I'm always
Right.
thinking about, yes, I'm getting into a vehicle with a stranger, this was midnight, I was tired,
Hmm.
just so it wasn't at the forefront of my mind. It was just more like, oh, I'm ready to kind of get home.
Wow. That's amazing. And you live in a city, and that has its own challenges, and you're
Hmm.
traveling a lot, and that has its challenges. And you just
Yeah.
mentioned, you couldn't have your firearm because you were traveling, and then you have to deal with the other items. So kind of you know, what are some of the things you can use while traveling that are acceptable on the airplane and whatnot? What have you found for that?
Sure. So I always carry a flashlight with me all the time. I carry it. It goes with me on my carry-on in my through my lug or in my carry-on at whenever I travel. It's the one tool that I love. What I love about a flashlight, that you can use it, one, to startle people, like blind them. You can
Hmm.
put it in the palm of your hand and use it as a striking device to kind of make your hand stronger. And then of
Hmm.
course the most simple thing is, to light up dark areas. But if
Right.
you get a strong enough flashlight, you can really, temporarily blind someone. And, when I say like flashlight, I mean a legit flashlight. I don't mean the flashlight on your iPhone. Those don't have the kind of power that you need. But I
Hmm.
always bring a flashlight with me,
Hmm.
because I can get that through TSA with no problem. I have a personal defense key that's always on my keychain, that I don't have any issues getting through TSA. I did have an issue one time getting it through TSA where they confiscated it, but that's only because I was pulled over for like a full body check. So they went through like everything and every crevice that I had. So then they were pulling everything out. And then when the TSA agent saw it, she's like, yeah, you can't have this. But it's gone through the X-ray every single time, not a problem. And then if I can carry, depending on, the state that I'm traveling to, and if um, they, allow my permit there, then I will carry my firearm. But for the most part, DC isn't reciprocal with many states. So, I'm left with, I always bring those two things. And then I know a lot of people don't like to check bags, but I check bags all the time. It just is easier. I don't like carrying a lot of stuff. So checking bag is easier. So I usually have a pocket knife or some type of pepper spray that I'll bring with me. So I've got something with me wherever I'm going. But again, it's one of those things, especially when you start looking at pepper sprays or tasers like that, if you're traveling with, those on its own have their own rules in terms of what states they're allowed to be in and where you can bring them to. So You
Right.
just have to make sure that you're checking where you're traveling, and what their rules are on those things, because you don't want to end up getting in trouble for carrying something like that. And
Exactly.
even the same with knives. Like I know some places have rules on like how
How big the,
the length of the blade can only
right.
be like 3 inches or something like that, and anything over that in the style, if it's a butterfly or things like that. So it's, you just have to do your due diligence when you're traveling, looking into
Right.
where you're going and what you can and can't bring.
So we're going to start wrapping up, Emily, the last few minutes. I'm going to open up for questions. So if people want to put it in the Zoom or the Facebook, we'll be able to ask you. But in the meantime, what do you have to offer folks to help them move along with their better, healthy lifestyle?
Sure. So I would definitely head over to stylemetactical.com. I
Hmm.
have so many articles on there ranging from concealed carry tips, personal safety tips, and I have a whole section on beauty and wellness where, I try to talk about a little bit just different wellness things to help you along with your life. Because like I said, this is a whole lifestyle, and I didn't want to write just about concealed carry or guns. I wanted to kind of write something broad to help you with everything that you might need in your life. But like I have tons of articles on there. If you sign up for my email list, you get a 10% discount off anything in the Style Me shop. And I've got some great new products lined up for this year. If we can kind of get this whole pandemic thing figured out, I might be able to get some new products in stock slowly but surely. But yeah, I would definitely sign up for the email list. I send out monthly newsletters where I know that I've heard from many people, it's one of their favorite things they get from me, because I talk to you a little bit more one-on-one. It's our kind of way of having a personal conversation. And then I share a little bit more personally about that, as well as sharing monthly safety tips and things like that. So there's tons of information on stylemetactical.com. And of course, if anyone ever has questions regarding concealed carry or personal safety, you can always send me an email.
Perfect. Hey, I got a question. What's a self-defense key?
So I don't have it with me right now, but CRKT makes a self-defense key, which is basically if you just take a normal key, the blade, it's basically this much bigger. Because I'm sure all of you have heard about putting the key in between your fingers as like a striking device,
Hmm.
and that like the I will say like the blade of the key is probably just like here, whereas
Hmm. It's
the
like,
personal defense key is three
so it's
inches.
it's a plunge device. Um,
Yes.
So I got another question. I'd love to start inspiring women in my community to carry. How would you suggest I start? I am good, is what she said, which is
Okay.
great.
That's a great question. I would just start by sharing your own story. So,
Yeah,
one of the things that I think is very important is you never know how your story is going to inspire someone else's. And I think you just need to start and not be afraid to share your experiences, because so many people relate to so many different things. And one of the things I did to kind of help women want to be vocal and share their stories as I created the Style Me Community Facebook group where women can join. We talk about all lifestyle things, but it's really a place to find support. And then I offer, I really want to elevate women's voices. So you can head on to stylemetactical.com and you can submit your own story of how, you've become self-reliant, things that you have done in your life that really have made an impact on you. I love to share those stories. So you can come on
great.
over, you can share that story, and we can um, share that with everyone else. So I think it's important just for you to start sharing what you have to say, because you're going to inspire more and more women.
Nice. Have you had a chance to try out the O2 Armor I sent you?
I have. I've used it the one time I was able to get to the range last year, and I think it's a great product. I used it sadly in conjunction with the mask that I had to wear, but
Mhm.
the little bit that I was able to use it with the mask, I think it's great. The nose filters are great.
Great. Yeah, because one of the big issues, especially for women, is lead dust is
Oh
really,
yeah, it gets
really bad.
it gets in your nostrils.
Yeah, and
It's
it's
not a
bad.
pretty sight.
It's like really bad for women to ingest, especially
Oh
and
yeah, yeah.
and kids, because it has such bad
I can't.
neurological.
I definitely can't wait to try it when we can go maskless. 'Cause that would be
Yeah,
nice. Because I
that'd be
really like to
awesome.
see that power. Yeah.
Thank you. And we are
Thank you.
at the time, and Julie's going to come on next. Thank you so much,
Oh,
Emily, for
thank you so
joining us.
much, Cliff. Appreciate it. Thanks,
And I look
guys.
forward to talking to you again later.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, take care.
Thanks. Bye.